Two people dead. A man shot through the chest in his own driveway. A woman stabbed in her bed over a dozen times. Her blood soaked through the sheets. Different locations, different months. But both deaths had one thing in common. A woman at the center. And the man who would have burned down his own life just to see her smile. He wasn't just in love. He was obsessed with what she offered. A future, a home, a bank account big enough to make all the pain behind him feel distant. Don't scroll just yet. Hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to Evil Crime Cases for daily deep dives into the stories that haunt courtrooms and hearts. When she spoke about freedom, she meant removing the people in their way. And when she said no one ever had to know, he believed her. But what he didn't see was the man watching from the sidelines. The one she never stopped calling. The one she was always saving it for. By the time the second body dropped, Darnell Hughes still believed he was doing the right thing. He thought he was protecting love, building something, becoming somebody. But no one tells you that betrayal doesn't always show up in a mask. Sometimes it wears perfume, says your name's sweet, and takes your hand like it's saving you from the world. The truth wouldn't come to light for another 5 years. And by then, Darnell's dreams would be buried under concrete, headlines, and the weight of a woman who had no business being in his life to begin with. That's where you'd find him most days. 22 years old, soft-spoken, sleeves rolled high, working under the hood of someone else's car like it could take him somewhere his feet couldn't. Darnell wasn't dangerous. He wasn't wild. If anything, he was loyal to a fault. Kept to himself. No record, no vices, no real voice in the house except his grandmother's, Miss Connie. She'd raised him since he was 5. His father disappeared before he could walk. His mother left 2 years later with a man who didn't want kids. The only time he ever spoke about it, Darnell said, I just stayed gone so nobody had to leave me again. He fixed engines the way some people pray, quietly, with purpose, like maybe something was listening. Then Raja came through the door. She was 29, ran her own real estate game, owned property, wore diamonds in daylight, pulled up in a silver BMW like she was too good for the zip code, but still knew how to work a room. She said her brakes squeaked. She said she was tired of mechanics lying to her. She said she liked honest men. But Raja didn't say everything, like the fact that she was married. Quietly. To Jordan Freeman, a well-known attorney in Midtown Manhattan, whose face would later make the news for very different reasons. Back then, no one in the shop asked questions. Especially not Darnell. Within 2 weeks, she was back with another repair. A month later, they were spotted at a rooftop lounge in Central West End. Her hand on his chest like she'd known him forever. His friends didn't know what to make of it. Some said he looked hypnotized. Others said it was the first time they'd ever seen him smile that long. But behind those smiles, Raja was already shaping the narrative. And Darnell? He was falling, hard, fast, and with no clue there was no one waiting to catch him. At first glance, Jordan Freeman didn't seem like the kind of man who'd be caught in anyone's web. He was focused, intelligent, and unusually kind. A rising name in New York's civil law scene, he'd earned his reputation without shortcuts, one case at a time, one client at a time. He believed in contracts, in structure, in human decency backed by written promise. And he believed in Raja. Their apartment on Pelham Parkway wasn't extravagant, but Jordan had filled it with life. Cookbooks stacked in the kitchen, a rack of board games in the living room. He worked long hours, but still made time to warm her bathwater and fold her sweaters just how she liked. It wasn't just affection, it was routine, ritual. He treated love like it was sacred. And to Raja, that made him easy. No one knew when her mind turned from discontent to strategy. But the change didn't come all at once. It unfolded gradually. In text messages she never answered, she joked that he was too good for his own good, that he had no idea what real struggle looked like. What she didn't say, what no one could see, was that she'd already found someone who did. A man who fixed cars in South St. Louis. Younger, pliable, willing to please. Someone who thought she hung the moon. She told Darnell Hughes her husband was cold, controlling, dangerous. She whispered about bruises that never existed, money she couldn't touch, and promises broken before they began. Every time she returned to New York, she made sure to be softer, more obedient. She needed Jordan's trust for just a little longer. She needed it to rewrite their wills. And he did. On August 12, 2019, Jordan quietly filed a new version of their joint estate plan. It gave Raja full control of his assets, including a $600,000 life insurance policy tied to his firm and a condo unit she claimed to hate, but insisted stay in her name just in case. There was no coercion, no visible threat, just trust. Jordan signed the forms with his favorite black pen. By late summer, Raja wasn't just living in Darnell's phone, she was colonizing his mind. They texted constantly, day and night, sometimes full sentences, other times just dots, like she wanted him to chase what she wasn't saying. She started calling him my lion. He called her his only queen. That was her favorite, only. In the beginning, it sounded like any steamy affair. Flirty, risky, drunk with newness. But then, it started to change. She'd write things like, "He grabbed me again today. My ribs still hurt. I know you'd never treat me like this." The messages always came late. After midnight. After Jordan was asleep or gone. Then the photos came. Blurry shots of bruises. A swollen lip. Red marks around her neck. But prosecutors would later learn the truth. Each photo had been pulled from domestic violence awareness websites. Reverse image searches confirmed it. But at the time, Darnell believed every single one. Because Raja didn't just fake pain. She faked helplessness. She knew how to make herself sound small. Trapped. And he, young, isolated, longing to matter, saw a chance to become her savior. One night, she wrote, "If I disappeared, no one would care. Not even my husband. I feel like I'm dying next to someone I can't leave." And then silence. For 9 hours. No texts. No calls. No read receipts. At 4:17 a.m., Darnell sent 6 messages in a row. The last one read, "I'm outside your building. I'm not playing. I swear I'll put him in the ground." It was the first time he hinted at killing Jordan. She didn't reply until the next afternoon. "You love me that much." That was all she said. No explanation. No apology. No details about the bruises. But that was the moment Darnell stopped being just a lover. He became something else. A tool. A weapon. A willing accomplice waiting for a plan. A forensic psychologist reviewing the text said Raja was engaged in what's called trauma bonding. A loop of affection, fear, and guilt that slowly reprograms the brain. Make the other person feel needed. Then disappear. Then give just enough attention to keep them hungry. And it worked. Darnell started missing work. Sleeping in his car outside her office. He got a burner phone Raja insisted he use just for us. She even renamed herself in the contacts as Mrs. Free. It was a cruel joke. Because what Darnell didn't know was that Raja hadn't filed for divorce. Not even once. And Jordan, her husband, had no clue that someone was building a fantasy life off his income, his schedule, his disappearance. But someone else did. 2 states away, a man who hadn't stopped watching her saw the same texts. And that man was the one Raja would never stop calling, no matter who else she made promises to. If the person you trusted most claimed they were in danger, how long would it take before you'd kill to protect them? By the end of August, Raja Freeman had become 2 different women in 2 different worlds, and she was navigating both with a precision that felt practiced. At Jordan's side, she played the role of the devoted wife. Matching outfits, date nights, real estate closings with celebratory champagne in their high-rise condo. Jordan, a respected attorney in Manhattan, had no reason to suspect that just 5 blocks away, his wife was building an entirely separate future with a younger man she claimed was her true salvation. Darnell Hughes had never known stability. Raised in the Bronx by his grandmother after his mother vanished and his father overdosed, he spent most of his teenage years under the hood of a car. By 22, he had a reputation for being quiet, respectful, and mechanically gifted. But no one teaches you how to spot someone like Raja. Especially not when she says you saved her life. She started small. An envelope with $2,000 after he said his rent was late. A new iPhone with her picture as the screensaver. A gentle suggestion to stop wasting time with his girlfriend, Imani Carter, who didn't believe in his potential. Darnell told himself he was just keeping options open. But his world was already shifting. While Raja whispered dreams of owning a custom shop together, she was making calculated moves behind closed doors. She opened 2 new accounts, one in her maiden name, one under a fake LLC. Both were just under reporting thresholds. She purchased a $500,000 life insurance policy on Jordan, listing herself as sole beneficiary. She told the insurer Jordan had a heart condition, but he didn't. 3 weeks later, she applied for another policy, this time on Imani Carter. She forged Imani's signature, listing Darnell as the partner and herself as emergency contact. The paper trail would be easy to miss. That's how she wanted it. By September, Raja was practically living at Darnell's apartment in East Harlem. She left her real wedding ring in her car and wore a simple gold band on her right hand when she was with him. He didn't ask questions, and that was the point. On paper, they looked like a mismatched couple, she in heels and designer handbags, him in oil-stained shirts and calloused hands. But in private, she gave him something that made all logic evaporate, the feeling that he was finally seen, finally chosen. But affection wasn't the only thing she offered. Fear was just as powerful. She started sending him photos. A bruised cheek, red welts on her back, all supposedly caused by Jordan. She said he'd pushed her down the stairs. She said he threatened to make her disappear. The bruises, prosecutors later confirmed, were downloaded from a stock image website. But in that moment, they felt real enough to Darnell. She'd sit across from him, trembling, whispering, "If you don't protect me, no one will." And Darnell believed her. He started skipping work, missing client calls. Imani noticed the change, but he shut her out. One night, Raja texted him at 2:17 a.m. "If I don't make it to Christmas, remember I always loved you." Always. Darnell didn't sleep after that. He stared at the ceiling, holding the phone to his chest, imagining a version of his life where Raja was safe, Imani was gone, and Jordan was out of the way for good. He saw it clearly, a new shop in Queens, matching chains, a woman who believed in him, a future where he wasn't just surviving, but finally living. And that's when Raja planted the last seed. You ever think, maybe all this pain is God's way of forcing a reset? She made destruction sound like deliverance. She didn't need to say the words. He was already hearing them in his head. But what Darnell didn't know was that someone else had already heard them before. A man whose name hadn't come up yet, but whose fingerprints were quietly woven into Raja's past. A man who knew exactly how she worked, because he'd taught her part of the game. The one man she used to call when Jordan was working late. The one who taught her how to forge, how to lie, how to disappear from digital records without leaving a trace. He hadn't gone away. He was just waiting. He was a man of habit. Jordan Freeman left his brownstone just after 5 every weekday morning. Always in a clean-pressed shirt. Always carrying the same thermos Raja once bought him from a street vendor on Flatbush. Before pulling out of the driveway, he'd text his mother in South Carolina. "Morning, Ma. Another day. Love you." That morning, the text never came. The neighbors said they heard nothing. No raised voices. No screeching tires. Not even a whisper. Just the dull crack of something. A sound easily mistaken for a firecracker or a heavy branch snapping under pressure. When the responding officers arrived, Jordan was still buckled into his car seat. Engine running. Driver's side window rolled halfway down. His body tilted slightly right. Shirt soaked in blood. One shot, center chest. Not a struggle. Not a robbery. Wallet untouched. Watch still on. Wedding ring gleaming in the dawn. It was surgical. The driveway camera, normally active, had gone offline at 2:43 a.m. Footage before that showed only silence, shadows, the wind teasing a plastic grocery bag across the curb. The neighborhood's side streets revealed nothing. No forced entry. No unusual cars parked overnight. No one seen running. Inside the house, Raja sat at the kitchen table with an untouched mug of coffee in front of her. She looked stunned, shaken. But when the officer asked her when she last saw her husband, she didn't ask whether he was okay. Her first words were, "Does the life insurance still count if it's considered homicide?" Jordan had no known enemies. His caseload wasn't heavy. No threatening clients. No lawsuits. No ex-lovers with grudges. He was private, even quiet, but respected, especially in legal circles. A man who believed in process, patience, order. The ME's report arrived days later. Hollow point entry. No bullet recovered. Chest cavity shredded on impact. No shell casing. No stippling. No sign the shooter stood close. Detectives canvassed. They knocked on every door on the block. No witnesses. No vehicle seen leaving. It was as if the bullet had been dropped from the sky. Then came a whisper from a neighbor 3 doors down. A young man, black hoodie, driving Raja's second car, spotted a week before. Always parked around the corner, windows tinted. Never got out. Just sat there. Watching. They ran the plates. Registered to Reja. The car had been loaned out 3 months earlier. No official report, just an informal swap. And in that silence, investigators started connecting threads. A pattern too clean to be random. But there was no arrest. Not yet. No confession. No motive officially proven. Just a dead man in his own driveway and a woman who'd already replaced his photo on her phone's home screen. Jordan's funeral was closed casket. His mother never got that final morning text. And the man Reja was quietly calling baby in her messages? He didn't even show up. But he was watching. And someone was watching him. Because in murder, what isn't said is often what screams loudest. By the time summer crept into Brooklyn, the shadows had already moved in first. 3 weeks after Jordan Freeman was found bleeding out in his own driveway, another address on Kosciuszko Street called 911. This time, it was a walk-up apartment. And this time, the victim had no enemies, no secrets, no reason to be dead. Her name was Imani Carter, 26, bank teller, devoted daughter, godmother to her niece. She lived simply. She wore the same black flats to work every day and never left dishes in the sink overnight. And on the morning of June 25th, she was found slumped beside her mattress, bled out into the hardwood floor. Stabbed 14 times, mostly in the chest and neck. There were no signs of forced entry, no valuables taken, no defensive wounds. The door hadn't been kicked in. She'd let her killer in. Neighbors didn't hear a scream. Only one said they remembered hearing soft crying around 2:30 a.m., but they assumed it was from the street. Police arrived just after 6 a.m. It was Darnell Hughes who called them. He said he'd come home after spending the night working in his uncle's garage in Queens. He said he thought Imani had overslept. He said he nearly threw up when he saw her. Detectives took one look at the scene and knew this wasn't random. Whoever killed Imani had taken their time. On the counter, there were 2 coffee mugs. Only one had lipstick on the rim. There was a single steak knife missing from a set of 6. The 5th one was found beside her. The 6th had been wiped clean. It was placed back in the drawer. The smell of almond milk still lingered in the air. Her purse was untouched. Her phone was on the bed, cracked, locked, but not destroyed. The last message she'd received was from Darnell, timestamped 1:38 a.m. It read, "Be home soon. Need anything?" The last message sent from his phone, however, was at 2:48 a.m. to a different number. To Reja Freeman. "I still smell her on my sheets." She'd replied just 1 minute before that. "It's done." Investigators paused when they read those words. It's done. But what exactly was done? The breakup? The betrayal? The bloodshed? No one knew if Darnell had killed Imani with his own hands. But one thing was certain, this wasn't a burglary. It wasn't random. And it wasn't the first time someone close to Reja Freeman had ended up dead in less than a month. The case, which at first looked like a domestic tragedy, now had a pattern. 2 lovers. 2 murders. Both clean. Both personal. Both tied by one woman whose grief, by now, had curdled into complete indifference. Detectives tried contacting Reja. No answer. She didn't show up to Imani's memorial service. Didn't text Darnell for 4 days. When she finally did respond, all she wrote was, "You know what this means. It's just us now." The shift wasn't subtle anymore. It was cold, brutal, calculated. And it made detectives question not just who had blood on their hands, but who had ordered the stains in the first place. Darnell Hughes had spent months watching someone else's husband die, his own wife bleed, and someone else's dreams come to life. But none of them belonged to him. Now, the woman who once called him her lion didn't return his calls. She didn't show up at the funeral. She didn't even ask how he was sleeping, because he wasn't. His hands had started shaking at work. Tools dropped. Oil splattered. His boss told him to take a week off, said he looked sick. But Darnell wasn't sick. He was unraveling. He sent Reja 7 messages in one night. "Why aren't you picking up? I can't sleep. I see her in the hallway." No response. Then a voicemail. "I did it for us. For the life you said we'd have. Where are you?" The next morning, Reja posted a picture on Instagram, curled up on the leather sofa of Malik Owens. Her ex-caption, "New energy only." No mention of Darnell. No mention of Imani. Just a man's wristwatch in the corner of the frame. Police had already begun watching. Not because Darnell confessed, but because someone close to him had said enough. 3 days earlier, His cousin Marcus had walked into the St. Louis Police Department without an appointment. He placed a prepaid flip phone on the detective's desk and said, "You're going to want to hear what he's saying on this." The texts weren't enough anymore. The bruises were fake. The motive was strong. But now they needed a voice. With probable cause, the DA approved a wiretap. Darnell didn't hold back. On the wire, "She told me we'd be free. She said he was going to kill her. She said we could build everything from scratch." Detectives logged the calls, each more desperate than the last. And yet Raja remained silent. Her number changed. Her apartment emptied. Her job transferred her to a new office. But no HR file confirmed the move, because Raja Freeman had already moved on to Malik Owens, a man who, according to neighbors, was too old to be playing stupid, but too proud to admit she had him wrapped up too. Surveillance photos later showed Raja at a Chase Bank in Harlem, standing behind Malik, holding a folder. Inside it, a new business filing, naming her as the beneficiary. Meanwhile, Darnell was unraveling. His journals, recovered from the apartment, show sketches of a house. Same one every page. Same label, ours. It had wraparound porches, a backyard, a nursery. He wasn't planning a getaway. He was building a fantasy, and the blueprint had shattered. And when a fantasy falls apart, what's left? Only the truth. And that truth was listening. While Darnell unraveled under the weight of blood and betrayal, someone else had already stepped into the frame. His name was Malik Owens. And unlike Darnell, Malik didn't fall for Raja's charms. He weaponized them. Malik Owens, 33, East Side legend. He didn't need to carry a gun. He moved silently, let other people get their hands dirty. Convicted of fraud at 24, out by 30. The kind of man who could make 5 figures vanish from a church account without ever touching the books. In his world, money moved in whispers, and he was fluent. But before the scams, before the stories, there was Raja. She was 19. He was 27. Their relationship had been short, intense, and unfinished. When she walked away, Malik never chased her. He waited. Now, nearly a decade later, she came back. Not for love, but for leverage. Phone records place Raja near Malik's apartment multiple times weeks before Jordan Freeman's death. Encrypted text messages and third-party payment logs trace unregistered money transfers, masked by dummy LLCs and burner numbers linked back to Malik's aliases. These weren't favors. These were arrangements. And prosecutors almost missed them. While Darnell was still figuring out how to load a gun, Malik had already written the last page. That wasn't a plan. That was a blueprint. And Raja followed it. It was Malik who connected Raja to a consultant who helped her quietly alter Jordan Freeman's life insurance policy 6 months before the murder. It was Malik who advised structuring the policy under an address that Raja never lived at, shielding her from immediate suspicion. And it was Malik who showed Raja how to script the text that pushed Darnell from loyal boyfriend to accessory to murder, under the illusion he was protecting her. Unlike Darnell, Malik didn't need validation. He needed control. And Raja? She wasn't just using him. She was drawn to him, because with Malik, there was never guilt. Only strategy. It wasn't love. It was survival, built on secrets, encrypted apps, and blood money. The kind that doesn't stain hands, only futures. By the time Darnell realized he was a pawn, Malik had already banked the win. Weeks before Darnell's arrest, investigators began noticing a pattern too clean to ignore. The cell tower record showed Raja's phone pinging near Malik Owens's building days before Jordan's murder. And again the morning Imani was killed. But it wasn't just her location. On the morning of Imani's death, Raja didn't text Darnell for 6 hours, a woman who usually messaged every hour. That same morning, a bank transfer from Raja's account hit Darnell's under the tag, laundry deposit. It was $4,000. But Darnell hadn't done laundry in 2 weeks. And according to his texts, he hadn't been home. Inside Imani's apartment, forensics made an odd discovery. No fingerprints on the knife. A spotless kitchen. Dishwasher had been run, with one item only, the knife block. Detectives called it too clean to be accidental. But Darnell never used that kitchen. That was Imani's domain. And the building's hallway camera showed someone leaving at 4:16 a.m. Hood up, gloves on, carrying nothing. Under court order, police placed a wiretap on Darnell's phone. On July 17th, He whispered the sentence that sealed his fate. She said after it's done, we'd disappear somewhere hot. She told me to wash everything, even the air. It was Raja's language, her voice in his head. And now, the prosecution had it on tape. On July 23rd, 5:47 a.m., St. Louis, Darnell steps out of a quick-trip gas station, coffee in one hand, phone in the other. He spots the black SUV 2 seconds too late. For plainclothes officers move in. He doesn't run, doesn't blink. He just whispers. She said this might happen. Raja never responded to his last message. Never visited. Never asked. And by the time he was processed, she had changed her number. Trials aren't just about guilt or innocence. They're about performance. Who commands the room? Who wears the mask better? And when the curtain lifted in State of Missouri versus Darnell Hughes, the jury wasn't just watching a trial. They were watching a tragedy unravel in slow motion. He couldn't have her to himself, the ADA tells the jury. So he eliminated the competition. They show pictures of Jordan Freeman in his driveway, lifeless. Then Imani Carter, 14 stab wounds. Defensive wounds on both hands. He wasn't just a man in love, the ADA says. He was a man weaponized. Defense counsel, Harold Briggs. Veteran, hard-nosed, but clearly worn down. He stands, adjusts his glasses, and takes a breath. This is not a monster, he says, pointing to Darnell. This is a man broken. By her. Groomed. Controlled. Played like a piece in someone else's game. He moves to the screen. A series of messages flash behind him. Raja's words to Darnell. He's hurting me. Do something before he kills me. You're my only hope. They weren't love notes. They were blueprints for murder. A court-appointed forensic psychologist describes Darnell as emotionally dependent, chronically insecure, and easily manipulated. In Raja, he found purpose. In that purpose, he lost control. He wasn't a killer, until she told him he had to be. Then Raja takes the stand. She walked in like she'd just stepped out of a catalog. Braids pinned neatly. Gray pencil skirt. Barely looked at Darnell. She sits, folds her hands, tilts her head, and lies. I was afraid of him, she says. He had violent tendencies. He said things I didn't understand. I had no idea what he planned to do. I was heartbroken when I found out about Jordan. Not a single tear. Not even a flicker of guilt. And just like that, the woman who whispered in Darnell's ear claimed she never heard a word he said. In that moment, he wasn't a killer. He was a boy watching the woman he trusted choose her freedom over his future. You've heard about fingerprints, DNA, and motive. But here's what you haven't heard. What happens when the person pulling the strings never touches the weapon? Guilty on 2 counts of first-degree murder. Life without parole. No reaction from Raja. No appeal from Darnell. Only silence. She stole his heart. Then his will. And finally, his name. The man who once believed he was saving her couldn't even save himself. On July 21st, 2022, at St. Louis County Courthouse, Darnell Hughes is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom is half full. Raja is not among the spectators. Not even a glance. Not a note. Not a whisper of goodbye. The prosecution built its case like a slow knife, methodical and cold. GPS data placed Darnell's burner near both crime scenes within a 30-minute window of each murder. Text messages had messages like, "It's done," Raja had written. Darnell replied, "I still smell her on my sheets." Wiretap audio revealed him saying, "She said we'd be rich. She said we'd be free." Insurance activity was shocking. Prosecutors presented policy alterations filed through a fake consultant linked to a dummy account tied to Malik Owens. But it was Raja's testimony that cemented the case. She took the stand wearing all white. No tremble in her voice. No apology in her tone. She described Darnell as unstable, obsessed, and emotionally violent. She claimed to have begged him to leave Imani alone. Claimed to have feared for her own life. It wasn't what she said. It was how she said it. Cold. Measured. Detached. The jury didn't know what to believe, but they knew what they felt. And Darnell made it easy to convict by saying nothing at all. 2 weeks later, a landlord entered Raja's former apartment to prepare it for a new tenant. Inside a shoebox, tucked beneath perfume bottles and old photos, was a letter, handwritten, rambling, but deliberate. I told him what to say. I made him believe it was love. But Malik was right. We never needed him after Jordan. The handwriting matched other samples from Raja. Prosecutors rushed to reopen the case, but the letter was undated and signed and discovered after her acquittal. Ruled inadmissible. Too little, too late. Malik Owens didn't vanish. He was arrested 3 months later in a traffic stop on gun charges. When his phone was seized, digital forensics revealed a network of burner accounts, including one that routed encrypted money to a fake consulting firm used to change Jordan Freeman's life insurance beneficiary. Still, no direct evidence. No witness. No confession. Some people play chess. Raja played the people who thought they were playing. Raja King was never charged with murder. Today, her record is sealed. Her address unknown. Darnell lost his life to a woman he thought would save him. Malik lost his freedom to a woman he couldn't control. But Raja? Raja lost nothing. Not even her name.